Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany Gallo. I am a mother of 3 girls, a midwife, and owner of Pure Birth's Pregnancy and Wellness Birth Center, which is located in Valencia, California. I decided to start these live videos, and we're going to try to do them on as a regular basis as we possibly can, to start bringing some awareness to some topics, kind of start talking candidly, and hopefully be a platform where I can somewhat answer some questions for some women that feel maybe they're not getting the right answers, are afraid to ask, so many other areas and arenas in which we can touch on. I wanted to start this page and do this live for so many years, but honestly, fear's been holding me back. Fear of, basically the law, we can't give medical advice. So I'm gonna do my best to stay as true to myself and true to everybody else as I can throughout these sessions that we do have, and be able to provide support in any way that I can. And by no means can I provide all the answers for everybody. But I do want to touch on one topic right now that really called me to just be able to bring this live. Being a midwife and being a birth worker, and holding space for these families, and it's not just women, it's these families that are birthing, is really something so incredible and amazing. And I really have to share, though, that it's so much, midwifery is just so complex. There's so many different styles of midwives. There's so many different ways in which we are thought of, either we are witchy, or we're more traditional, or we're a midwife, or we're this or we're this. It's very interesting how we're considered to be labeled. And something that I want to share definitely just right in this topic is something that's been really heavy on my heart this last week. I have a family in particular, and if they end up watching this, they'll know who they are, who's coming upon this situation that in the midwifery laws here in California where I'm at is really, really, it's a struggle for me. There's a part of me yesterday that's like, I don't even want to be a licensed midwife anymore. I'm gonna go rogue. I am tired of this. Because we have this law in California specifically that women can only stay in our care and deliver with us until 42 weeks. And if they're not in an active labor pattern by 42 weeks, we must release care and turn them over to a hospital or another care provider, unless we have an arrangement already set up with an OB. But the reality is we can no longer care for them solely. So coming up against this has been really exhausting for me, because I feel what the parents are going through. I feel that they are, hey Jordy, hi Leslie. I feel what they're feeling. And we think about, the parents so much, and they're going through this, and the anxiety and the stress that they're up against this 42-week mark. And as a midwife, I sit back and I go, oh my gosh, well, what part do I play in this, first of all? The part that I play in it is trying to hold space, but most, it's gotta be the trust. So I've been doing a lot of meditation on sitting in this and watching myself discover something very, very deep within myself, like meditating deeply, sleeping more than I ever have in these last couple days, and the whole family here has been like, what's going on? Is because why can't we simply just trust in the body? Why do we have a 42-week cutoff date? Why can't we allow for this mother and this baby to decide when that exact moment is the perfect moment, in that divine, space for that baby to be born? And here we come back to my belief in that, And the reason why I became a midwife is to be able to hold space. And I felt like I wanted to protect those moms from the medical system. I don't want to keep you out of the hospital. I know what happens there. Although, sidebars, I'm very grateful for the hospitals when we do need them. I'm very grateful for OBs and anesthesiologists when we do need them. However, if we don't, that was my journey to come to become a midwife, was being in the hospital system. I was in the hospitals in and out for a decade, labor and delivery, and watching these women and supporting these women in these birth journeys, and it got to the point where I'm like, I cannot do this anymore, okay? And so that is why I became a midwife. So coming into this space now, doing all the studying I've done, and being faced with not following my heart, not following my beliefs, not following, as Leslie says, this ancient wisdom and this innate wisdom we all have within ourselves, and that these women and babies have within themselves, that we're put up against a law that puts me in a position of becoming somebody I didn't want to become this week. I became an inpatient midwife. I became a midwife talking to moms about castor oil and sweeping membranes and going to the acupuncturist and doing all of these things to have a baby before they hit that 42-week mark, so they don't have the birth that I don't want them to have. They say that's not the birth that they want themselves to have either, and that birth being in a hospital in an induction setting. So meditating on it, it came back to what, I'm not the one who gets to make this decision. I had to surrender, I had to release, and I had to let it go. And all these thoughts are going through my head about, well, the what ifs, and how is this mom gonna feel, and how is this dad gonna feel if they end up in the hospital? What is this induction process gonna look like? What kind of fear is gonna set over them? And how have I failed them? And so then it became selfish, like, how am I failing them as the midwife, right? Why wasn't I able to make sure they had this glorious, perfect birth that they were prepared for so strongly, this family, so dedicated, and such a beautiful family. So this piece that I've discovered of myself, it's very profound. And then again, it also doesn't change the law, and I don't know if most of you know, but we kind of swapped out some things for other things with the new laws, and one of those things was having that distinct cutoff at 42 weeks. Having that distinct cutoff at 42 weeks allowed us not to do concurrent care, which I do believe in. At that 42-week mark, sure, if you want to go in for NSTs, BPPs every couple days, and we know mom and baby are good, let's just keep waiting for baby to be ready. However, that's not the nature of the laws here anymore in California. So, the question is, and I'd love to hear from all these viewers that we do have watching right now, is, you guys can post questions, is what are your thoughts around this 42-week cutoff? And what would your suggestion be? If you were a mother coming up against that 42-week mark, how does it feel that your midwife is making all these natural induction suggestions to try to protect you? Because that's where I'm coming. I feel like it's a place of protection, but then it's also a place of control. Now, would you want us to consider offering you a sweep of a membrane to try to get things going? What about acupuncture? What about nipple stimulation, sex, vigorous activity, all of those sorts of things, Or is it really in our best interest to really just stop and trust and just allow for things to either happen or not happen? So I'm coming up against this battle, like I said, for the last few days, and really struggling with it. And I had a really, really beautiful meditation this morning of a release of control, and it was so deep, and it was so beautiful. And then right after that, I got this amazing text message with a pad of paper with all the contractions that she's been having. So we're right about to come up to this point where would have to transfer care, and I get this beautiful piece of paper, and she's contracting, and a gorgeous picture of her on her birth ball, and I'm like, thank you, just thank you for everybody that's a part of this, you know. And I think mostly for me sharing a lot of this is to know that it definitely for me, and I know most of the midwife and birth workers that I surround, it's like we care so deeply. If we're in this work, we care so deeply about the outcome for mom, for dad, for baby. And I really, truly hope that something shifts here. I really, truly do. Because this whole model of care that we're having to abide to is really difficult, especially here in California. And some of the people that I can see are watching right now are part of another group, and I won't call the group out, but it's a very progressive type of a group for birth workers and such. And I was literally told when I kind of presented what was going on and trying to share my feelings in a group was like, well, why don't you just stop practicing as a licensed midwife? Why don't you go rogue? Why don't you go off? You know, and just who cares what the law says and blah, blah. I'm like, well, you know, the laws are in place for a reason, but, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to not abide to the rules and the laws. I do get what they're coming from, but I also do have a family that I need to take care of and a practice that I'm going to take care of. But I definitely have to let you know, it's in the back of my head looking into all the other states where you can go and practice midwifery more traditionally, and allow families to definitely take more control over their birth. There's, you know, the huge movement of free birth right now. And as a licensed midwife, I think it's beautiful. I think it's pretty awesome. I do believe in having a skilled attendant there in some way, shape, or form. And I know that's not considered a free birth if you have anybody attending that has any clinical skills with you. But, you know, the reality is women know how to birth. We do personally see, this topic came up not long ago, we just assisted a mom in a delivery a couple weeks ago, and she's free birthed a couple of her babies. And I asked her, I'm like, why are you hiring me as your midwife then? If you free birth and you free birth so beautifully and you've never had complications, and you know, and I adore her. And interestingly enough, she's like, because everything's gone so well, maybe something's just gonna come up. And so we assisted her and supported her at this birth a few weeks ago. And it was interesting, the most odd, in her opinion, labor pattern. And then she's a mom of 8. This was her 8th little one. And, you know, we let her do her thing. I even left the house. I'm like, I think we shouldn't be in your space. And we left, and we came back, and she had that baby within 30 minutes of us just coming back, because I believe she needed to be alone. And then she has this great birth, and then we had a really big hemorrhage, right? And so then it's like, oh, there's that alignment of, oh, this is why she knew intuitively that this time she should probably have somebody around that would be able to provide her with that support that she needed, which in that support, you know, needed to be some medications and some IV fluids to help support her. Now, you know, here we go into this whole new, I think what's growing right now is free birthing. I really do. I'm interested to see where it's going for all these reasons that I will speak of, and, you know, questions are going to keep coming up to me, I'm sure, you know, throughout all these sessions. But as women and as mothers and grandmothers, sisters, aunts, we need to take birth back into our own hands. We really do. We need to spread the knowledge and the trust, and really, really start trusting in our bodies and our abilities to birth our babies with the very least amount of interventions as possible. Otherwise, I don't know what we're going to be up against. But I am gonna try to do this, these little sessions. I'm not sure how often, but we'll post them. I'd love for you guys to share this with friends and family and women, and it doesn't have to all be midwifery and birth related. It can be women related, nutritional questions and things like that come up, because I'm also seeing outside of pregnancy, I do a lot of woman care for women that are trying to change their way, their lifestyle, nutritionally, women that are entering menopause. So we try to give as much support and resources and references as we possibly can. But a great space for us to come together, because I know that channels like this, a lot of midwives aren't wanting to speak up, and they're afraid of the retaliation or the legal standpoint. But I'll do my best to not get arrested. But thank you guys all for listening. I think some of the people that are listening right now are part of my team over at Pure Births, and we're super excited to have this mom have her baby today. And again, saving that space and surrendering to that space of trust, and allowing the universe to just provide what is just, what it is supposed to be in its glorious way. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll definitely get to some questions next time. I gotta go be a mom and get ready for a birth. All right, bye-bye, thank you guys.